Good morning, everyone. I'm Susan Demas, the executive editor here at Lincoln Square, and welcome to the weekly assignment where executive producer Sam Osterhout and I talk with you about what's coming up this week on Lincoln Square, the latest headlines, and what we can all do to fight back against authoritarianism. Good morning, Sam. I have a feeling you are buried under snow this morning.
Susan, my children will never go back to school. It will never happen. We had a snow day on Friday. We have snow day today. Our producer Sean took the brunt of the snow down in New Jersey, but it's messy. That sort of late-ish spring snow in the Northeast. We're supposed to get another storm on Wednesday, another one on Friday. My children are feral. They do not remember how to read or do arithmetic. Yeah, but they are loving every second of it, of course.
I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm dressed for spring, not the weather that we have, but the weather that I want. We've gotten lucky in Michigan with this last storm, but I'm not going to speak too soon because you never know. We actually weren't supposed to get much of anything, but the weather forecasts don't seem to be as accurate as they used to be before Trump cut NOAA.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? How that works.
Yeah. And nothing bad can happen from that, of course.
No. Well, the great thing is he eliminated hurricanes and snowstorms because we don't have data on them, just like he eliminated COVID back in the day.
Yes. And so the 1.2 million deaths didn't really happen, I guess.
Didn't. Nope.
Yeah.
So great.
Well, I mean, the good news is we're all going to get a big fat tariff refund, right, Sam? Because the Supreme Court, of course, ruled against Trump on Friday. And in true Trump fashion, he said, my bad, here's your check, right? That's how it went?
Yeah, that's exactly how it went. Look, I think there was something to this that as soon as that decision came down, social media, particularly Blue Sky, obviously, which is a hilarious place, was like, oh, so I guess legally they have to submit or give us checks or they have to do refunds since this was such an illegal move. But then it, I think, began to dawn on everyone that the money, any refund that would ever happen, was not going to happen, but any refund that would happen would go to the payer of the tariff, which is the people who were importing the products, right?
Right.
And here's the biggest grift, the biggest fuck you to all of us is that those people paying those tariffs passed on the cost of those tariffs to us. So we indirectly paid for those tariffs. They were fine. They were like, we did not actually end up paying for the tariffs, and they're going to get the refund check.
Right.
The hypothetical refund check that will never ever come. So
and of course,
once again, we get screwed.
Howard Lutnick, in Trump's cabinet, his family is personally going to profit quite a bit from this, taking a page from how the Trumps have run this entire administration. So yay for all of us. But I mean, really, you don't have to take our word for it. You can take the word from the ultra liberal Wall Street Journal editorial page, which called this a government tariff refund bait and switch. Those are their words. So just like with the big, beautiful bill that Republicans in Congress passed last year, it's going to be the billionaires that benefit from this. They got all the tax breaks last year. They're going to get the huge refund. And the middle class, as usual, gets bupkis. This is a great system. We've never seen this collapse upon itself like in 1929. So I think we're good.
I mean, yeah, no. Historically, the economy has always risen and never shrunk. And
when the ultra wealthy own everything.
Yes, and it distributes equally and equitably always.
Yeah. I mean, I think even if you favor conservative economic policy, I mean, you hated tariffs and you really hate what Trump is doing to the economy because it's not balanced at all. The only reason, I mean, we're seeing unemployment rising and obviously the cost of living has not gone down. And so his economy is very unpopular, but just structurally, this is not working. It's a house of cards.
Well, it's a house of cards, but then I think you have to add to that a couple of things. One is that the economy, we have a clip of him talking about the stock market. Let's roll that, and then we'll talk about it.
Okay.
I want to be a good boy. I have
different one.
effectively utilized tariffs over the past year to make America great again. Our stock market has just recently broken 50,000 on the Dow, and simultaneously, and even more amazingly, broken 7,000 on the S&P, two numbers that everybody thought upon our landslide election victory could not be attained. Think of that.
Okay.
Nobody thought it was possible to do it within 4 years, and we did it in 1 year. They said, you'll never be able, you'll go back and you read the geniuses, read their statements, all of the Nobel Prize winners in economics. They said, no, you couldn't do it in 4 years. Well, we didn't do it in 4 years. We did it in 1 year. We broke every record in the can do so.
Oh, sorry, Sean. That's me. Okay, good. So there's a couple of things. The first is that structurally, we're balanced on top of, a handful of corporations who tend to currently be wildly overvalued. Right. So this whole boom in stock and the stock market and all of this is contingent upon the success or the potential profits of a few corporations. If one of them fails, we're fucked. Right. I mean, this is kind of how the whole thing is balanced. But the second thing is, and Trygve and I were talking a little bit about this backstage, the AI is actually really coming. And I think that there will be some real structural issues with work and our jobs in the next 1 year, I think before Trump leaves office. So all of these gains that he's talking about, that he's bragging about, have not so much to do with him and are very, very fragile. And also, they're not trickling down to you or me. They're not helping me buy my groceries, right? They're not helping me pay my mortgage. This is, it's a house of cards, all of it.
I just have to say, listening to Trump drone on like that, the dude just sounds old. I mean, this is not the Trump from 2016 or 2020. I mean, this wasn't even Trump from the campaign last, 2 year and a half ago at this point. I mean, I can't even imagine tomorrow, and we'll talk more about the State of the Union because we've got some special stuff cooked up for you.
Yes.
But I mean, he's going to stand up there for probably an hour and a half because he's droning on more lately, which tends to happen when you lose the thread on things. But gosh, he just sounds so tired. But he's still up all night tweeting. We've got a couple of tweets about how angry he is with the Supreme Court, which doesn't even deserve to be capitalized, as he notes, because they failed him so much. But then, it's like he comes out with, by the way, they ruled for me, and we're going to go forth with tariffs bigger than ever because they found that they were illegal. So, this is a guy whose grip on reality really seems to be slipping at an alarming rate. I mean, he sent a hospital boat to Greenland with no explanation, a place where, by the way, Denmark has universal health care. I don't think they need medical care from the US. I think probably millions of people here would like some help with their health care since the ACA subsidies were not renewed by Congress. Maybe he wants to concentrate on healthcare here. That would be great. But I mean, he's doing really weird things now.
Yeah. No, I mean, look, the economy is a house of cards. Trump is a house of lards. Thanks. And, Reagan said the 6 or whatever worst words or most terrifying words were, I'm from the government and I'm here to help. But really now it's, I'm from the American healthcare system, and I want to give you our healthcare. That would be terrifying to anyone
Yeah, can
else.
you imagine like RFK Jr. showing up at your house, in dripping wet jeans saying, I'm here to help you with your health care? I mean, you would not open the door.
No, definitely not. No, I wouldn't open the door for any of these guys. I've got children. You know?
You've got children and they're all in the Epstein files.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my God. So
Well,
how's he gonna? Well, we'll talk more about the State of the Union. We do have some really good programming tomorrow to cover that, and then also Wednesday. So I'm really curious how he's gonna sell this shit sandwich.
yeah. With the State of the Union coming up, that means that probably some of your Facebook friends, some of your family members are going to be very eager to talk about Trump's speech, maybe argue with you. And we've got a great lineup for you starting at 8 p.m. tomorrow. But before then, let's go ahead and bring on Trygve Olsen and Aaron Dobson, who are from the Democracy Investment Fund. And they have an app that I think is really useful for those very difficult political conversations that we've all been having with people in our lives. I'm not talking about random people on Twitter. You probably don't need to argue with them, but people that you'd like to keep in your life. It can be really difficult to talk about these issues. And they have an app, Listen to You, that aims to make it just a little bit easier. So I'm really excited to have them both on. Thank you, Aaron and Trygve, for being here.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, and I know, Trygve, you just got back not too long ago from Minneapolis amid the ice surge there. And so I feel like this app is coming at a really crucial time, especially with what you saw out there.
Yeah, I mean the fascinating thing is we were in the process of soft launching it right after I was back. I was back home in I grew up just outside of Minneapolis, St. Paul, in a town called River Falls on the Wisconsin side, about 15 minutes from downtown St. Paul. And from the time I landed, we were stopped by Minneapolis police because there was a protest and there were ICE officers at the airport. But everybody wanted to talk about it. It was interesting. We soft launched the app. And so I put it on my Facebook page. And I was shocked by the number of people in my hometown and just in the Twin Cities who reached out to me, because it wasn't just having conversations with, your MAGA uncle where they were using it.
Right.
They were using it to talk to people that weren't necessarily paying a lot of attention, that were friends of theirs, or people who, weren't sure what to think. And the value in Listen to You is it can give you it improves your skills for having conversations at a very dark time about what we're facing, whether it is with your MAGA uncle who somehow thinks that what happened to Renee Good wasn't murder, or it can help you talk to your friends at the bar who just aren't paying as much attention or don't think it's a big deal. And I will tell you, in the Twin Cities, even in my hometown, it has become a big deal because, my hometown of 10,000 people, they had ICE people showing up at the Mexican restaurant in town, which, if my mother were still alive, that probably would have driven her out of Republican politics, that they were rounding up the family that had run the Mexican restaurant for 20 years.
Yeah. How did you? What made you decide on building an app, and how did you get involved in this, and where did this nugget come from?
Aaron, do you want me to? You want to take that one?
We were.
I don't want to cry on. I don't want to cry on their show. So.
We were out in the field doing research, talking to fathers and daughters about the breakdown that they were having in communicating with each other. This was a couple of years ago. And we were talking to MAGA leaning fathers and more progressive daughters and just trying to understand, why could they not talk to each other anymore? And Trig was leading the focus group with the MAGA fathers, probably more appropriate than me doing it. But so he was leading that focus group, and he had a Detroit cop, hardened guy. He'd, obviously seen the worst of the worst, come up to him afterwards and was like, I finally get it. You got to help me. I haven't talked to my daughter in 3 years over Donald Trump and politics. And you could see Trevi processing this, in his head, knowing him as well as I do. I was probably going, I can't imagine not talking to my daughters for 3 years because of Donald Trump. And so, we kind of went back and we're like, we got to figure out how to help this guy. And it's not just him. It was all these people we've been talking to who'd lost friends and family relationships because they didn't know how to talk to each other anymore. And so we started out very analog. We were going to do a toolkit and, send it out to people. And we realized that's not the way people are learning these days. So we ended up building the app that we have now. And, it's an incredible tool to help you, not just, if it's a challenging conversation, but just to learn to talk to each other again. We all could benefit from kind of going back to the drawing board and being better listeners and trying to understand what the other person is hearing, and not just what we have to say about something.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it's based off of Aaron and I spent with the whole team almost 4 years working with 4,000 Americans, 4,000 to 5,000 Americans, where, we got to know and try and understand just about everything about them. So unlike a lot of apps, this isn't just like ChatGPT with a wrapper around it. It's
Right.
actually trained off of real data of real Americans and what real Americans are going through. And you see that, and I really appreciate you saying before we got on, Sam, how much you enjoyed the app. What you see really quickly is you start using it, you tell about yourself, you tell about the person you're having a challenging time with or that you want to have better communications with, and a little bit about the context. And it starts giving you coaching. And we worked with academics and leaders in the field. We worked with privacy experts. We ended up finding that a lot of people wanted to help us, even in the tech industry. One of the people who worked with us was somebody that Erin knew from her work at the Allen Institute, who had some challenges with his brother, and he's like, "What can I do to help?" And a pioneer in AI. A former colleague of mine at IRI who's on the faculty at MIT has been really helpful. He leads a team that works with us on the ethics of it. We can't see the data. We don't track, train, or target people off it. That isn't the purpose of it. It's about empowering, and it's about really, at the end of the day, what it does is it lets you see and understand what the other person is hearing and how they're processing it, which makes you far better at having those conversations because you can practice them in a safe space.
Yeah.
And to Aaron's point about dads and daughters, I mean, I couldn't imagine not talking to my daughters for 3 days. And the thing that got me about it, Aaron was on the other side when the homicide detective came up to me, but what he ended up saying to me is he almost said it to himself. He started crying and said, "Do you know what it's like to lose your only child?" And that's something that I do know. We lost our first child. So, Aaron's watching from behind the glass with a couple other people, and suddenly the Detroit cop and I are both standing there bawling our eyes out, and I'm like hugging him out. "Oh no, I'll help you, man." So it's been really great to see how many people have taken and started using it, because it really was, he didn't intend to to cause that, and I don't even know how we'd track him down. But if it can help one person with that, and it's helping thousands and hopefully tens of thousands now.
Yeah. I have to say, I think, one of the most surprising things I found about the app was that, you go through this intake and it asks you questions about yourself and the challenges you're having. And that to me was almost more powerful than what came next, because it was so clarifying for me to just talk through the challenges that I'm having or my own set of circumstances. And I think, in the chat, Maxine said, I can't find it now, but something about like, will it help them understand me? It really helps you understand you.
Yeah.
Like that's the first thing that this app does. And once you get a handle on that, I feel like I almost felt like I found this little bit of empathy for not just myself, but for, the people with whom I need to speak and all of that. It also, and like you mentioned, it's not necessarily just about, trying to persuade your MAGA uncle. It really is. There are a lot of people, and Susan and I talk about this a lot. The goal of Lincoln Square isn't always to persuade MAGA to vote Democrat. It's really to find the Democrats who need to be activated and understand what's really happening here. So it's just, there's so much nuance in this app. It's really a beautiful project.
I think one of the most important things that we've realized as we've talked to people who've used it is that all of us usually go into conversations like intent on bringing someone over to their point of view.
Right.
Instead of just stopping for a moment and going, the other person may have a point, and I can at least acknowledge that. I don't have to agree with it, but I can acknowledge that they're coming from a place that they feel is important to them. And that's true across any conversation, political or any other. And I think what we've tried to do is try to get people to take a pause, take a beat, and be like, I'm going to put myself in their shoes too, and understand where they're coming from. And in doing so, we hope we can get everybody to a better place.
Yeah, I felt like that was the part where I really felt seen. The idea that these conversations aren't about winning. It's about understanding each other and being able to preserve the relationship. And full confession, I was a high school and college debater, so I do bring that mentality.
Susan, so was I.
But that's not necessarily the healthiest perspective to bring to these interactions. So I felt like you really took into account what's the goal of having these interactions, and the goal should be to understand each other and to be able to preserve the relationship. And so then the question becomes, well, how do you do that while not just ignoring the elephant in the room?
Exactly.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously, Aaron and I created the tool, but what's kind of funny about it is even in my own life, we have some close family friends, and the wife, they were over, they saw the Super Bowl, and she's not happy about Bad Bunny. And I was like, how do I even, I was going to see her right after. And I was like, how do I even, I got a bunch of texts, and how do I even have this conversation, and why? And even I ended up using it in the first piece of feedback, even for me as somebody who's an expert in the whole topic. It gave me insights and some things that I hadn't thought about why she comes at it from that perspective and what it's really about. And I found that so empowering, because instead of just dreading us seeing each other and that coming up, I was like, okay, I understand this a little bit better, and it's not really about Bad Bunny. And that makes it easier to have the conversation, because, some of what she was advocating for is really incongruent with how she lives her life. And so it was easier to say, okay, let's approach this a little different rather than, the way that I would have gone about it. And that is an empowerment. It's reclaiming your agency.
That's a really, really well put. I'm everyone in the chat is saying, how do we get it? Is it in the App Store? Where do we find it?
You go to www.lstn2u.us. Right there, and it's free. We've built it on a pay it forward model, so if you find it useful, you can cover the token cost for what you used it. You could pay forward so that some others who can't can use it. We're really excited. We have 5 college campuses now, I think, where it's being used in classes.
Oh, wow.
We have a bunch more. It's kind of taking off there. We've been having some conversations with some large entities that represent different groups, religious groups, aging, older Americans. Because this is something everybody has experienced. 2/3 of Americans have ended a friendship or curtailed a friendship over politics. 1 in 5 of us have ended a relationship with a family member over politics. And the truth of the matter is that cop in Detroit, those Americans who are estranged from family members, and all of us, the app is a reminder we're not alone. And that's really, what we're trying to say with Listen to You is you can reclaim this. And, I know a lot of people are afraid of AI. Quite frankly, the reason we ended up with the AI for people as the way that we did this, I was talking to somebody about maybe 6 weeks after ChatGPT came out. They were like, "Oh, you should put your data into ChatGPT." And I was like, "Oh, that's a great idea." And when my daughter got home from middle school, I was like, "Do you know what this Chat SVG is?" And she's like, "Dad, it's AI." And that's really how we started using it. Cause then, I was like, I put the stuff in and it could do math faster than I could, but I was like, I got to get to know more about this. So I started taking some classes. Sam is now, I think, taken one of those classes at Vanderbilt. At least I recommended it to him. Yeah, it just was the best way. It really isn't an AI tool. It's a human tool where AI just ended up being the best way to do it. And we explored everything. It's like, do we make videos? Do we online classes? But it was the one way that we could actually have people role play the conversations, practice, and at the same time have a coach there to be helping along. So,
well, when we send out this show to everyone, we will put how you can get the app to make it easy for you. And Trigby and Aaron, we really appreciate you stopping by and telling us more about Listen to You. Definitely going to come in handy for the State of the Union and the midterm elections in general, where you can't really escape politics. In case you don't want your family dinners or your book club with friends to devolve into a shouting match, this can definitely be helpful. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for having us on.
Great. Sam, do we have any good comments in the chat? I know you're always looking.
Yeah, you can see my eyes. Like my eye line is never looking straight ahead. From Diane has a quote from Robert Jones: "We can disagree and still love each other, unless your disagreement is rooted in my oppression and denial of my humanity and right to exist." I love that quote, and I think that I had that challenge with the app as well. Thinking about what relationships are, like, for me, it comes down to what relationships are actually worth salvaging,
Mm-hmm.
right? And where what relationships are actually quite dangerous for me, either personally or emotionally or in any kind of way. And Diane, I think it all comes back to that. But if the example of the cop and the daughter is essential, so, obviously that's a relationship worth salvaging.
Absolutely. Well, coming up this week, as we were talking about, we have a lot of special programming for the State of the Union address. I know that probably like all of you, whenever you have to watch a Trump speech, you're sitting there thinking, I wish that someone was fact checking this in real time. And then you would think, well, that person probably will keel over and die because that is too hard of a challenge. And I can't promise that we will be able to call out each and every lie because we're only human. However, we're going to do our best with some really great panelists. We'll start out with strategy session at 8:00 with Joe Trippi, Rick Wilson, and probably at least one of their special guests. And then rolling right in before Trump's speech begins, we're going to have our panel. We're going to be there live, probably doing it a little MST3K style. Add a little humor. If you want to crack open your beverage of choice, no one would blame you. And then we will have folks on afterwards to go through what it all means. So far, we know that we will have Rachel Bidikofer, who is a polling expert. We'll have Joe Sudbay from SiriusXM Progress, Max Burns, who you know from his show with Sam on Fridays, breaking down the week, and probably many more guests.
Yeah, I think Michael Fanone will join during State of Union to help break it down. We're going to have Maya May. They're so hilarious together. And Michael was like, is it cool if I drink? If I have some beers? I was like, it's actually kind of essential, I think. Yeah. So yeah, it's going to be, it's taking a really unfun event and just giving it a little zhuzh.
Yeah, because I mean, who knows what he's going to say? So as much as we'd like to ignore it, we can't. Who knows? He might declare war on Iran. We don't know.
Yeah.
Just this morning, he declared that he had his own interpretation of the Supreme Court's decision on tariffs. So we got to see what this madman's going to say. But you can count on Lincoln Square to give you a little bit of humor along the way to make it go down a little bit easier.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, exactly. I'm on Wednesday, actually, Joe Trippi and Joe Klein will be recapping. That will be interesting because those guys, both of them, have been covering these states of the union for
decades.
Yeah. So yeah, that will be a really interesting conversation as well.
Yeah. And on Tuesday afternoon before the address, we're going to have University of Michigan professor Justin Wolfers. He's an economist. I think we've got that promo. Yeah. Justin is just the right person to break down what is really going on with Trump's economy, the tariff decision, what we can expect Trump to say about the economy, and separating fact from fiction. So that will be a great show for us to kind of kick things off on Tuesday.
Yeah. Yep. It's going to be a good big week.
Yep. Also on Tuesday on Anchor Watch with Bobby Jones, he will have Liz Oyer, who the Trump administration fired as the pardon attorney. Actually, Todd Blanche himself fired her. So she is the perfect person to talk with about what's going on with Trump's DOJ, whether, it's Pam Bondi's performance on Capitol Hill or how they are responding to the tariff decision. So we're really lucky to have that on Tuesday as well.
Yeah, that'll be a good one. Judd Legum it will be with Edwin on It's a Democracy Stupid on Friday. Judd is so good. And we had him on maybe the breakdown years ago, but it's been a little minute. So I'm really excited to hear that conversation.
Yeah, Judd started out as a reporter for Think Progress, did phenomenal work there. Now he has his Substack, Popular Info, and I mean, he breaks news left and right. He is just such a good investigative reporter. So really looking forward to having him on to kind of cap the week.
Yeah, it'll be great.
Absolutely.
I'm, we have a call to action, but I also want to just say, if you download the app, Listen to You, let me run that again. I would love to hear about your experience with that. So when we post this, we'll post the link to download that, and then put your thoughts in the chat, in the comments.
Definitely would love to hear from you because Trigby and Aaron definitely take all that feedback, and they're constantly trying to update with the information they've gotten from people. And as it so happens, they had a great test group with people right there in Minneapolis at the height of the ICE occupation. So really informed by real world events, which is pretty remarkable.
It really is. But there's another thing that we got to do that is even more important. Susan, what is it?
Well, if you would like to see your tariff refund, and I know we all would, go ahead and contact your member of Congress. Let them know that you have not forgotten, even though the Trump administration seems to want to keep that for them and their billionaire donors. And we've made it really easy. You can just click on that QR code that will take you right to contacting your member of Congress. Let's not let them forget about it. I think that J.B. Pritzker sent Trump an invoice for the people of Illinois. It doesn't matter if you live in Illinois, anywhere across the country, we're making it easy for you at Lincoln Square, because after all, it is our money.
It is our money.
Yeah. And that's just a backdoor tax on all of us. Meanwhile, Jeff Bezos, his bill has been cut by like 83%. But the rest of us all had to pay way more at the grocery store and, going to Target. Something's not really adding up.
No, I mean, imagine getting like a huge pay increase and also simultaneously getting a dramatic tax decrease. It is like they cannot lose. And that is so frustrating because all of that money that they're getting comes from somewhere.
Right. Yeah. I mean, Trump was supposed to drain the swamp, but he just decided that he wanted to make the swamp work for him. And it's not really working for us.
Nope.
Yeah.
Not even.
So, yep, definitely. You can click on the link right there. And I'll just say, if you are just tuning in for the first time, you don't subscribe to Lincoln Square, you can subscribe for free. We'd certainly love if you want to, if you like what you see with our articles from folks like Stuart Stevens, who just came to us live from Ukraine today, Rick Wilson, Joe Trippi. If you like what you see, please, you can support what we're doing here. But we'd love for you just to subscribe for free, especially if tariffs are hitting you and it's not in your budget. We totally get it. This is a community, and we are definitely here from you. So we'd love to have you join.
Amen.
And Sam, thanks for being here as always on a very snowy Monday morning. Probably for many of you out there. Good luck if you're trapped in the house with your kids like Sam. And, stay tuned for our State of the Union coverage tomorrow.
Yep. Thanks, everyone. Off to shovel.